Well, as Will said, if I haven't gotten to meet you, my name is Mary Keel. My husband and I moved out here almost 7 years ago with two of our kids. We now have three, ages 12, 10, and 9. And we're definitely not experts by any means, but we've had a few years of working through living out life here, trying to figure things out. So we're hoping that we can give you something helpful. But I want to start by asking, have you ever noticed that we live in a city of great contrast? So on the one hand, we really value beauty. So these huge construction projects you see all over the city, they have to dedicate 1% of their budget to public art, which is why we have so many great art pieces around the city. At the same time, we have BART stations that are consistently saturated with the smell of urine. On our streets, walk some of the wealthiest people in the world, right past people whose only possessions are the street filthy clothes on their backs. We really value freedom to live any way that we want to do anything that we want to. And yet we have a major problem with human trafficking. We house some of the most brilliant tech engineers in the world. They are solving the greatest technical challenges of our age, and at the same time, they live on the same block with the tent encampment. Because even though we spend $241 million per year on homelessness, we still can't seem to make a dent in the number of people living on our streets. San Francisco houses the best of what mankind can do, but also some of the worst. You see, we live in a beautiful, broken city. So how can we thrive as families in this beautiful, yet broken city? Well, we start with the beauty. We really do all have things that we love about this city. We have great museums. And as a family, I love that as a city resident, I get to go to these museums for free different times of the year. There's great performing arts, the opera, the symphony, the ballet, the musicals, the concerts. I actually love the energy of Market Street and the street musicians busking for a living. I love that we live in a walkable city and that you can thrive without a car here, and you don't have to pay for all the tickets that some of us pay for and the insurance and all that goes with that. Part of that is our public transit system that we get to enjoy. One of the benefits of having a family with the public transit system is that by the time your kids are teenagers, they're starting to navigate public transit system on their own, which means, as a family, less fighting traffic to get them where they need to be. I also love the natural beauty. I love that I can look around and see the bay, and just a few minutes later see the ocean. I love the fog that comes rolling over Twin Peaks. You may love that we live in a city that values the environment, and you can raise kids to have that same value and be working to preserve the earth. You may love the diversity of cultures. I personally love that you can't walk more than a mile or two without hearing 4 or 5 different languages being spoken. But amongst all these things that are really beautiful about our city, we do experience our broken moments, and I think we have to be honest about that. When my kids were 4 and 6, my two oldest, we were going through the drive-thru on the corner of 3rd and Townsend, and we saw a man begging, and so we decided to buy him a meal as well. And as we're coming out of the drive-thru, the place where I need to hand it to him, I can't quite open my driver's side door, so I lean out as far as I can to hand it to him, and I'm not quite close enough. So he's gonna have to stand up to get it from me. And he was lit. He was furious. He didn't want my food, and he definitely did not want to stand up to get it. And so he laid on me every curse word that there is. So my kids, who are 4 and 6, their eyeballs are like this. What is happening? They're so confused. Why would someone treat their mother that way? Why would someone return an act of kindness with insult? But while this moment showed brokenness, it really also provided us the opportunity to have the beauty of truth. And what I mean by that is that this guy was a drug user in the need of his next fix. So we got to have a great conversation with the kids about this is what drug use actually leads to. So when moments like this happen, I'm not gonna lie, there's times I'm tempted, like, I don't wanna deal with this, and I definitely don't want my kids to deal with this. I don't want them to see this. Ugh. I just wanna go somewhere nice, clean, safe suburb. But the fact is, the drugs are in those places too. I grew up in those nice upper middle class suburbs. Some of that time was up in Marin, and the drugs were definitely there. And I heard the message at school, just say no to drugs. But the reality was, when I saw them in real life, they were only looking fun and exciting and mysterious. Worst case scenario, you might hear someone get caught and get shipped off to rehab quietly for a little while, or have to do some public service. But unless the drugs were in your own family, you never saw the brokenness and desperation of what someone in the need of their next fix looks like. So because of moments like this, my kids really are growing up believing that drugs are the most gross, awful things that they could do to their minds and bodies. And kids growing up believing the truth about the brokenness is beautiful. This past year, the 5 of us were walking through Jesse Square right up there, and there was a man wearing chaps. Only chaps. So actually, that's not completely accurate. There was also a collar on him as he was being led on a leash by another man. So there's this part of me that's just praying my kids won't see this, so I don't have to have any conversations about this. So of course they did. And why would someone want to pretend to have a naked slave, Mom? But really, there was a beauty in this. We got to discuss pornography. We discussed human trafficking. We discussed God's beautiful, super fun gift of sex and how Satan aims to destroy God's good gifts. And so really, I prefer sometimes to not have these conversations, but it is beautiful to have these moments to reveal the truth of brokenness. But the truth is, it's not just on us as parents to walk our kids through the brokenness towards the beauty. Tim Keller's a pastor in New York City, and he and his wife planted a church there about 30 years ago, and they raised their kids there. And she wrote an article a number of years ago about the benefits of raising kids in the city. And there's one story that's always stood out in my memory, and she's talking about one of her boys as he's getting older. He's particularly attracted to this dark nightclub. And so, of course, he's not allowed to go, but he sneaks out, he gets caught. And in the midst of all the chaos and drama that's happening in their family, one of the men in their church hear about this. And so he's about 30, and he goes to their son, and he says, hey, before I became a Christ follower, I used to go to that club all the time. I actually never want to go again. But if you want to go, I'll go with you. And just the words of that man speaking to their son was enough to completely change his heart on this subject. And we get to see this at our own church. We have amazing adults in our community pouring into our students from high school all the way on down and sharing their faith stories and their life stories. Sometimes it's moral issues like this one we just discussed, but sometimes it's just seeing what career looks like or how do you make those choices. So my oldest son, he is into building, and Brad's friend on the band is an architect on the 181 Fremont building. And so we got to go to his office in the Transamerica building and see the model of the city and to see their paper plans and to see all the stuff that Ryan is working on and see the building and the foundational levels. And we're going to go on a hard hat tour one of these days. Super cool. But even better than that was getting to hear Ryan's heart to make really beautiful things through his work for the glory of God. And that was just overflow. We weren't asking for it. He's also interested in real estate. And Janet, who's a realtor that will be sharing with us later, was kind enough to invite us up. She was selling residential units for 181 Fremont. So we got to go up and have the tour, their high-tech presentation, see the high-end finishes, learn all about the quarry in Italy, where the marble's coming from. And so we ate their fancy chocolates and saw their cool gifts. And again, very cool, very impressive. But the highlight actually was hearing Janet's heart to serve her clients and how she really wants to help them find what is going to be the best fit for their family. And even sometimes that's when it's not most beneficial for her financially. And I just love that my kids get to swim in a community of people like this, living out their faith. And I know that you could think, well, you can meet great people anywhere. And that's absolutely true. I've actually known incredible realtors and architects, people who've come out of darkness and really had a radical turnaround in their life. I've known them different places. But the truth is, in the city, there is such a high concentration of the best of the best. So when your child is struggling with something or interested in something, you really can connect them with one of the top people to help coach them through those next steps. So yes, we live in a beautiful city with brokenness, but Christ uses the truth of that brokenness to create even greater beauty in the hearts of our children by allowing God to use both the beautiful and broken parts of our city. You can truly thrive as a family in San Francisco.